So election night is come and gone. I know everyone's asking who's the big winner. And the winner is all of us who no longer have to see campaign ads when we're just trying to watch hockey or something, right? We are the real winners. Man, these ads get dumber and dumber every year. I just don't get it. You're not going to save the world. Your opponent's not the most evil person ever. Whatever. But I can go on all day about that. So what really happened? The truth is it's kind of a wash. It's as I predicted, a lot of people were predicting. Turns out the Republicans gained a few seats in the Senate. They're going to end up losing the House. It's still early in the night and tallies are still going to come in. They could lose anywhere. The Democrats could pick up anywhere from 25 to 35, 40 seats, I'm saying. It's not going to be a crushing victory. Now, when you look back, historically, what happens is the president, after his first 2 years, his party almost always loses power in Congress. For example, after Obama's first 2 years, they got crushed like 68 seats or something, ended up switching to Republicans, and like 6 Senate seats ended up switching towards Republicans. So it's not the blue wave that the media and everyone's been talking about. Now, remember, they've been telling us for months that Trump's the most loathsome person ever. Everyone hates him. No one can stand him. Once the election comes, finally he'll get his by his party being crushed. That didn't really happen. Yeah, they basically what I predicted and most people predicted happened. So locally in Pennsylvania, I was kind of worried. Not in my district, but my former district, Mike Kelly, who I think is a good guy. I've talked to him. I think he's very intelligent, personable. I like most of his policies. He was in District 16, I believe. It looked like he was losing early, but I think he pulled it out. My district, a Republican, won as well. So, yeah, I mean, some of the, I guess, bigger surprises. Florida, it seems like, is going to go in the Senate and governor race. It's going to end up going Republican. Gillum seemed to be someone that the Democrats are really pushing for, seemed to be more of a progressive Bernie Sanders type person. He ends up losing. The governorship, Beto O'Rourke, who's kind of become this hero of the left that all these celebrities were funneling money into, saying that he's like the next big thing. He ended up losing to Ted Cruz, as I think was basically predicted. So there were some individual races that were kind of upsets, but nothing too shocking as far as I saw. Again, the big story to me is the so-called blue wave. It just didn't happen. So there's a couple questions to ask ourselves. One, all the polling places that had again, it seemed like they're within the margin of error, because what they do is they're like, oh, the Democrats are crushing. They're up 13 points. They're up 10 points. They're up 8 points in the general ballot, blah, blah, blah. There's a good chance that they're going to be able to pick up all these seats, blah, blah, blah. And then when they gets closer to like the day of, they're like, oh, but it's only a 75% chance. There's a 25% chance they get So, the polls aren't worth what they're written on. Like, an individual, it's okay to look at them to kind of get an idea. You should take the aggregate of them, I guess. But, again, they're just kind of ridiculous. And all the media that was out there shouting about how horrible Trump is and about how there's going to be a blue wave. Yeah, it turns out they were wrong. Now, ironically, here's one issue that might have cost them the blue wave, an issue that was the reason I won't vote Democrat until they get new leadership, which was Kavanaugh and their idea of saying guilty until proven innocent, due process no longer matters. We have to trust women based merely on their sex over men. Like, that's insanity. It turns out that in races for the Senate that were close, all 4 Democrats that voted against Kavanaugh ended up losing their election, and the one Democrat that voted for Kavanaugh, Manchin, ended up winning his election. So I think that's kind of stunning. That I think it's telling that a lot of people I have no proof that had factored in, but I think that it probably did. And I think there's a lot of people scared of just how incredibly radical that position is of ending due process, which is a foundation of our country. So where do we go from here? It looks like one of the things I'm seeing, it looks like that there were a lot of, particularly in the Senate, senators that are more on Trump's agenda than maybe the senators they're replacing. So it's not just that Trump's going to have somewhere between 53 to 55 senators as opposed to just the 51 he had. So he's more likely to get things passed there. It's also that they're more likely, even the Republicans, to be more pro-Trump people. And I think that the fact that the Republicans weren't crushed as was being predicted will allow a lot of these Republicans to say, oh, Trump's not as loathsome and as hated as the media has been leading us to believe, so now we can kind of get more on board with his agenda. Now, the Senate is more important than the House, and they end up doing things like appointing judgeships, things like that. They have to sign any bill that comes from the House, so we'll see what happens with the House. I predict that the Democrats will not be interested in compromising whatsoever. And in a sense, were the Republicans interested in compromising with Obama? Not really. So I look for them to just start launching investigation after investigation of Trump. Just what the people want, right? More Russia, because that went nowhere fast. So, and they'll try to bury like any evidence of corruption that Obama's DOJ and FBI had in investigating Trump, who was running for, as he was running for president. So look for that to happen. Nonstop investigations. They'll be calling for tax returns. They'll be calling for impeachment, things of that nature. They're not going to ever be able to impeach because you need 2/3 of the Senate, and you're never going to get 66 or 67 votes in the Senate where you have 54, 55 Republicans. It's just not going to happen. So they're not going to be able to impeach Trump unless something crazy would happen, of something of that nature. So, yeah, look for stalling. Look for gridlock. That's what I would look for that's going to be coming up, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because most of the time when the government's acting, it's in a bad way. So we'll see. I think that actually the fact that Trump lost the House will probably help his chances and the Republicans in 2020 because if they would have maintained control of the House and the Senate and the presidency, then I think that anybody who was disgruntled then going into 2020, which it always seems like there's disgruntled people no matter what happens, would have taken it out on the Republicans. Now it's going to be like, well, who's to blame, the Republicans or the Democrats? Last thing I wanted to say, and I think this is very important, like keep in mind what Republicans go up against, right? They're going up against almost every cultural institution of power is overwhelmingly Democrat. So you have like all of your celebrities, your musicians, your athletes, almost all entirely Democrat. Even the media that covers like sports journalism, almost entirely Democrat, right? You have the mainstream media, which is overwhelmingly over 90% Democrat, right? And they're not even journalists anymore. They're just mouthpieces for the Democratic Party. As if you've watched any of my videos, you know that, but it's not that hard to see. Just look at their coverage of like Kavanaugh to get an example of how ridiculous they are. All the the academia, almost entirely dominated by leftist ideology, right? And it's funny on that note, and I'll just finish up, and then basically all your social media companies are ran by leftist ideologies. There's almost no place, like the only place that people that are conservative or right-leaning have to go to talk are basically online because, yeah, you got Fox News, which is still corporate news. It's not the greatest thing in the world. Other than that, almost everything is all mainstream media, all of your cultural people, like you turn on a television show, it's all left-leaning, coming from a Democrat idea. You turn on your late-night shows, they're all Democratic-leaning. Almost all your media is Democrat-leaning. You go to a university and get educated, it's almost all Democratic, left-leaning. So where do Republicans go? Well, you have like social media and things of that nature, and lo and behold, they're cracking down on that. They don't want people talking there. They have almost near total domination and control of almost all these means of conversation and cultural power, and they still can barely make any gains. Imagine where we would be if we are in a world where it was even closer to 30% Republican on these platforms to 60% Democrat. Or I can't even do math. 30 to 70%, maybe 10% Libertarian. Wouldn't that be great? But you see what I'm saying? Like, so it just goes to show, despite the Democrats pretend to be the party of that they're resisting, they're against power or something. You control, other than the presidency in this point and the Senate, I guess, you control basically every institution that's worth something as far as cultural influence and influencing minds. And yet still you struggle. And it's funny too when you hear these, I hate this term, but dog whistle of, oh, well, less educated people tend to vote Republican. Well, yeah, what they consider educated is people that have gone to university. So yeah, go figure. If you go to a university that is ran almost entirely by leftists for 4 years, you come out indoctrinated thinking leftism's a good idea. There's few of us that have gone through that have seen through that charade. But not, and I think maybe more people start waking up. But imagine, right? Imagine if it wasn't that way. Imagine if 30% of faculty at universities and administrations were more conservative or right-leaning. What numbers would we see then? And even with that almost total control of all flow of information, they still demand more. They want more censorship. They're trying to keep conservatives off campus. They're trying to get social media companies to shut down conservative voices and things like that. So it just kind of goes to show it's really again a sad showing. Just like with the Trump election, they had everything all the money on their side, all the media, every system of power, everything in Hillary's corner, and she still lost. If they would just be even somewhat more palpable to the average person, I think the Democrats would make huge gains. Remember when they used to be like kind of claim to be the party for working people? Well, that's out. Now it's all about identity politics and, I don't know, call anyone who even would consider voting Republican a racist, and then they wonder why those people don't vote for him. So it was funny watching some of the news coverage, the usual characters saying like, oh, the reason Gillum, if you didn't know, Gillum was running for governor in Florida, happens to be black. Oh, the reason he lost is because they're racist in Florida, you know, and the reason that this person in Georgia lost is because they're black and there's racist in Georgia. That's what it's all about. In Maine, black people could win, but not in Georgia and Florida because they're racist. To which my question is, well, James was running in Michigan, like for the Senate in Michigan, right? So if he loses, are all these same Democrats, he happens to be Republican, right? All these same Democrats going to say, oh, the Michigan voters wouldn't vote for a black man even because they're racist. Of course they won't say that. They'll be happy that the Democrat, it's okay for the black guy to lose there because he's Republican, right? It's just stupidity, right? Now, at the end of the day, like, despite my like, as my last video showed, hey, I hope that every single person elected to Congress, Republican, Democrat, Independent, it doesn't matter, any party, ends up working for the people, proving me wrong, making this country great. I'll cheer for that. I'm skeptical, though. I think that the majority of people in Congress, Republican or Democrat, aren't very good, and I certainly think that the Democrats that are appointed to the House, their agenda as a whole, there might be some good ones there, but I think their agenda as a whole is going to be to just have endless investigations of Trump, and I don't think anything's going to really get accomplished. Seems like they're being driven further to the left, this kind of progressive identity politics idea. Open borders, the police are all, the law enforcement's all evil, that kind of thing, and I think that's not a good thing for the country. But hey, who knows? Hopefully I'll be proven wrong. But yeah, so at the end of the night, if you didn't follow the coverage, the election was basically a wash. Republicans gained in the Senate, Democrats gained in the House. We'll see the final tally in a day. But yeah, nothing really, the blue wave didn't happen that we were told was going to happen. And yeah, my takeaway is that with all, you would expect the Democrats to do better with the fact that they control almost all flow of information from all culturally powerful points. So, all right, well, thanks for listening. I'll have some more videos coming out later in the week. And if you like this, subscribe. Check out some of my other videos and like my video. And please recommend me to other people if you like this. Even if you hate me, you think I'm ugly or something, recommend me to other people. You can make fun of me, right? That'd be great too. It doesn't matter to me. So, all right, thanks a lot. Have a good one, folks.